All sports are glorious and beautiful in action. They show us the potential of the human body to go beyond its limits. Gymnasts seem to defy gravity itself with poise and grace, bodies contorting in ways that we didn't think possible. And it can also get very emotional at times, but occasionally the sport lends itself to some super awkward and embarrassing moments. Let's take a look at some of them today. First up, that time when Alyssa Downey had a painful fall. At the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Alyssa Downey found herself in a rather uncomfortable position after landing from a somersault onto the floor. The 17-year-old British gymnast was competing in her first Olympic Games. So far, she had competed the beam and bar without any incident. But things went south during her floor routine. It seems like she didn't rotate far enough for one particular trick and landed right on her neck and head. Ouch. As painful as that probably was for her, it was pretty embarrassing too. The audience noticed it as once as they all gasped in unison, and as expected, the photos of her awkward landing became quite the viral sensation soon after. Her sister and fellow teammate was also there. Rebecca Downey said it was a pretty scary sight and that something like this had never happened to Alyssa before, but luckily she was fine and didn't sustain any serious injury. Even after taking that embarrassingly nasty fall, the gymnast continued with her routine. Here's the scary part. She admitted she had heard a crunch when she landed and understood that she might be too dizzy for her final tumble. But after getting a checkup, she actually returned to the final event of the day. What a trooper. She completed the vault and landed well on both attempts. In fact, it was her decision to return for the vault event that allowed her team to get into third place on their way to the finals. Definitely worth the embarrassment. And remember when Gabby Douglas had to cling to the balance beam after taking a fall? Gabby Douglas was America's shining star at the 2012 Olympics in London. She won the individual all-around with a score of 62.232 and helped her team secure the Olympic gold. And in doing so, she set some impressive records. She became the first ever American gymnast to win the gold for both herself and her team at the same games. She's also the first woman of color in the world to become the individual all-around champion. As great as gymnasts as she was, she had her embarrassing moments too, and she made a few awkward mistakes. And one of them was at the same Summer Olympics in London. While on the balance beam, she had a shaky start to the balance beam routine. She even checked her balance a couple of times, and toward the middle of the routine it happened. She slipped on a landing and fell from the beam. Douglas then hung on to the beam with one leg and both hands on the beam awkwardly for a few seconds. Then she got up and continued with the rest of her routine. Turns out even champions have off days and definitely lots of awkward moments. But Carrie Strug hopped on one foot after an injury right into the history books. This one may have been awkward, but Carrie Strug made history for this one. If you look at it without context, then watching Strug hopping on one foot after her vault event is awkward, but it is definitely one that is a piece of Olympic history. As it was in 1996, Team USA and Team USSR were going head-to-head to win the Olympic gold. During the final competition, the USA had a slight lead. However, the others on Strug's team didn't really perform as expected, and the weight of winning the gold lay solely on her. No pressure, of course. On the first vault, Carrie Strug injured her ankle while landing, and by injured, we mean she was in immense amounts of pain. But she knew that she had to nail the second vault to secure the gold, no matter how badly her foot was injured or how much pain she was in. In a remarkable display, she struck the landing in spite of her injury. She, hopping around awkwardly for a little while before she fell to the ground, almost incapacitated by the pain. But that hop was a definitive moment that led Team USA to win their first gold in the team all-around. Carrie Strug took to the podium in a cast as she won the historic gold medal. What an amazing moment that must have been. And then there was that face that launched 1,000 memes, Michaela Moroney. Now, we're pretty sure that you've seen Michaela Moroney if you aren't a gymnastics enthusiast. This particular gymnast became a global phenomenon as a meme. Yep, it's everyone's favorite, not impressed face. In the Summer Olympic Games of 2012 in London, Moroney was widely considered to be the favorite, clearly, to win the vault. Even her coach was so completely sure of her win, saying that Moroney was simply the best. However, things didn't really go out the way she expected or predicted for that matter. With all of these hopes pinned on her, her first vault was as perfect as everyone has expected it to be. The second one, though, was far from it. Instead of sticking the landing, she fell to a sitting position, and with that, she also fell to second place in the competition as her average score fell to 15.083. Obviously, this left the extraordinary gymnast disappointed, leading her to make that face. And once the cameras picked it up, it was all over the internet. Speaking about the video, she said that the face she made didn't really mean much, as she does it all the time anyway. Nevertheless, Michaela Moroney became a huge meme sensation. She became so popular that even President Barack Obama posed with her, with both of them pulling the same face. Meanwhile, Samantha Vincent's awkward faces on the trampoline are worth watching. Seems like the 2012 Olympic Games were ripe with embarrassing moments from gymnasts. Samantha Vincent, a member of the USA squad, was a powerhouse at the trampoline event. The champion was only 6 years old when she started training in power tumbling and with the trampoline at a competitive gym, so she was right at home on the trampoline. So many of us may enjoy the trampoline as kids, but in competitive gymnastics, it means a lot more. Athletes like Savannah perform all kinds of fantastic acrobatics up in the air using the trampoline as a trampoline. And she was a top-of-the-line kind of gymnast. So her embarrassing moment story isn't really one of her failing or falling, it's actually one of her pulling funny faces while on the trampoline. Once one of her awkward trampoline faces were picked up by cameras, she quickly became a meme, much like Michaela Moroney. The funny faces aside, Savannah was a champ for Team USA that year. At the age of 19, she was the youngest one in the trampoline contest in those games. She was also the first ever American to qualify for the finals of the trampoline event, and she even managed to finish 6th in the event. And no amount of funny faces pulled while being midair will take that away from her. And lastly, Olga Corbett's shockingly bad start on the uneven bars. This last bit of Olympic-level embarrassment is a bit of a historic dig. Back in the 1972 Munich Games, there was a 17-year-old Soviet gymnast named Olga Corbett, and she was quickly gaining a reputation for her flawless routines right from the beginning of the games. She held the attention of the world. Corbett became the first gymnast ever to do a backflip on uneven bars. This was such a daring move that it was later named the Corbett Flip. This really catapulted her into fame. So here she was, this fantastic gymnastics prodigy that everyone was now watching. And when she had a disastrous performance on the uneven bars at the next event, it was embarrassing to say the least. Corbett made 3 big mistakes during her routine, and her score fell to a mere 7.5, dropping her to 7th place in the competition. The most obvious of these mistakes was the unsteady start to her routine. Corbett was meant to pull herself off the ground while starting the routine, but instead, her feet hung too low as she skidded against the mat. She had to start her routine all over again, but never really got her groove back, and the rest of it was also botched. But when the camera caught her in tears, it endeared her to audiences around the world. Here was a young girl with so much potential who had made a mistake and was clearly distraught. But hey, still, as a move named after her, and that makes her one for the history books. That's a wrap for this video. Did you manage to catch any of these embarrassing moments as they happened? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.